will get started. Thank you. Thank you for coming, for those of us who are working and those of us who are on holiday. so much. Thank you so much for joining us. It's our final mentorship session for 2025. And it's just an opportunity to come together as a group again and just reflect on what's been happening this year in the mentorship program, and also have a look at some of the feedback and ideas for next year, and would love to get your feedback on that as well. So my name's Paula, and I'm one of the AMSIG members, and joining me here today from our AMSIG committee is Paul and Maggie. Susan will be joining us, but she'll be a little bit later. And before we get started, I would just like to say a huge thank you also to Rachel and Sophie for your support and your assistance throughout this year with the mentorship program. And just thank you to all of you, mentors and mentees, I think, for the time and the openness and just the energy that you've brought to this program. And I think whether you've shared it, everyone would have had a different experience, and whether you've shared your experiences or asked questions or supported a peer or a colleague through certain situations, your participation, I think, has made a real difference, and it's made a huge impact to our sector, I think, as well. Paul's going to get us started, so over to you, Paul.
Okay. So just to recap on some of the aims of this program, or hold on, I need to wait for the slide to change. Okay, there we go. Today's session is going to focus on three main things: celebrating the successes that we've had throughout the year. It's an opportunity to reflect on what you have experienced, all the kind of benefits that you got from the program, as well as look ahead to what you might be doing as a result of this experience, or how you might contribute to the program in following years as well. We'll finish off with that. But just to recap on the project aims and the whole purpose of this program, the first thing that these five areas was what we agreed on 2 years ago when we first started this program. And I don't think this has really changed. The first one is facilitating professional sharing. And I'm sure, from the conversations that I've had and the feedback that we've had, there's been benefits for both the mentors as well as the mentees. And there's that has been a consistent message, that it's not just about the mentor mentoring a newer manager or something like that. Instead, there's a definite shared experience, shared knowledge, and shared learning in this process. The second one is enhance leadership skills. And recently, when going through some of the CPD framework and looking again at what that framework, how it was built by English Australia to really go from emerging teachers all the way through to the lead stage, there's so many of that, those elements of professional development and professional learning that there's not that many opportunities to really think and reflect on what it means to lead in ELICOS, and to be able to connect with somebody that's in another organization and share your thoughts, share your ideas, and learn from others is quite unique in our area. And so the third one then is really about some supporting emerging leaders. And I'm sure that many of you have experienced a lot of challenges throughout the last few years, actually, and the whole experience post-COVID, going online, then coming back, and there were a lot of centers where there were staff shortages, and then there was, layoffs as well, and all of that experience that you can gain from having a mentor to talk to about these kind of difficulties and challenges in our everyday work. This opportunity is really valuable for people that are especially new to management or senior teachers or coordinators in their roles. The fourth area is about trying to work through some of these challenges together, trying to look for not just the problems that we have, but look at solutions and how we solve things in our context. We try to match people that are similar or in a similar context. Sometimes there's strengths as well in looking at differences. So if you come from one of the university sort of sector, but you're chatting with a mentor that's in the private sector, there's still value in sort of seeing things differently. Um, but as well, we to keep the program strong, we tend to match the mentors and the mentees across different states. And that's a really deliberate approach. One, because it means that there's less of a chance of some of that information that we get through discussions being influenced by people that we know. But also it gives us alternative perspectives to those problems or experiences that we have and different ways of solving things that we experience in our work. So the final one is enhance the supportive and collaborative community within the Elikos industry. And this was feedback prior to starting the program. There was several times that this was requested. We need more support. We need other opportunities. And the idea of having a mentoring program seemed to be a little bit pie in the sky. We didn't know whether or not it was going to work. We didn't know whether or not it was possible. We didn't know what it would look like. And so we pretty much just launched it and tried it. And I think with great success so far. It's been really, we've had lots of good feedback from participants, both mentors and mentees. But we're always looking for ways to improve as well and to continue this program into the future. However, today is not really about us and it's not a workshop per se. Instead, it's much more about sharing. And so for this first activity, I would recommend if you've got a phone, perhaps take a photo of the screen. So you've got 3 questions there. And in a moment, we're going to put you into a breakout room where you will have hopefully a mixture of mentors and mentees. I think we might have a few more mentors than mentees today, Paula. So that's okay. Um, and can you please remember that when you're in the breakout room, if you could, before you start your conversation, nominate somebody who is willing to sort of take some notes and report back. Especially if somebody's not in the office and is on holiday, that might not be the best person to be taking notes. But choose your reporter to report when we come back. How long do we have? I think 15 minutes, Paulo, you said, roughly.
So yeah, about 10 to 12 minutes for the discussion, and then then we'll come back and share some of the main points.
Yeah. So what was the most impactful moment or conversation during the mentoring program? How has the mentorship helped you see things from different perspectives? And what skills have you developed or observed during the program? So I'm going to open it up for feedback. So room 1, Nicolette, Philippa, and Tristan, who was your note taker, who'd like to share some feedback on what you discussed?
I was the only person who was actually in the room the whole time, so it's probably got to be me.
Okay.
Sorry, there was a bit of
Yeah, I started with Rachel, but not Rachel in it, and then we ended up we got Nicole. Juliana was in there for a bit. I got to meet everyone. Yeah, I guess
What were some of the highlights that you guys mentioned?
I think the highlight, other than me embarrassing Philippa and saying something nice about how I crossed paths with her years ago and then her immediately leaving was one of them. That was no, it sounded like Juliana had a really, really impactful time and really enjoyed her mentor. And Nicolette had a great time too, and liked that there was, a little bit of distance, but also her mentor still, knew what she was talking about and it was relevant to what she does. And then, yeah, I mean, I had a great time too. So, had lots of chats. I think my mentor gave me an unbelievable amount of time. So, yeah, that was it.
Okay, fantastic. Group 2 was Alejandra, Cam, and Juliana. Who's going to report back?
You want me to? I can report back if you like.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, no, do you want to
No,
report
no, 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 go for it. Yes.
back? Well, you're most welcome to chime in with anything that I miss, and I think I'm about to miss a lot. The most impactful. So, we discussed all the questions. Impactful things we talked about were getting to know mentoree, and getting to assisting people with issues that they might have had. Some things that were discussed were time management, helping people with time management, with upward management, seeing things from different perspectives, and helping people with build confidence. These were sort of certain things which were discussed. Alejandra, was there anything else on the list that neither of us
Yeah, no, yes, I remember we first have Nicolette, who's my mentee, and then she left and Juliana came. But one thing that Nicolette had mentioned at the beginning was one of her highlights was when talking about being transparent, being true as a manager, when you have to make certain decisions and let your staff know. So it's always better to be truthful and transparent. So yeah, that was
Thank you
one
for
of the
sharing that.
highlights.
Yeah, I was supposed to be the note taker for the room as well, and I just
You
got ripped
left.
out of the room and put into room 1. So sorry about that.
Yes.
But yes, that was Alejandra who gave me that very sage advice. So I said that's something that I think I'll always keep in the back of my mind. Whatever message I have to share with staff, to just be as open and transparent as you can be. That was the caveat as well, because sometimes you can't share everything, but as much as you can to be able to share that.
Okay, thank you, Group 2. And the third group was Peter, Rachel, and Sandra.
Yeah, I'll jump in for that. I might start backwards because it links into what Alejandra and Nicolette were just saying. So, delivering messages openly and transparently. So, also taking the time to not just deliver messages, I think is something we talked about. So, you walk past the classroom, if just give 2 to 3 minutes just to say good day to your team, and just make sure they're going okay, because we've had a bit of a rocky ride over the last few years. So, that was something we thought. So, along with that, skills developed by the mentee were how to delegate and how to project manage. So they had quite a cool system where the mentor set up a Padlet and shared a bunch of resources, so the mentee can continue to go back and keep learning. They had readings. They would report back about what they'd learned and what they had done. So it was a real kind of coaching situation in that relationship. So that was great. Impactful moments and conversations. I guess to quote Dennis Denuto, it was just the vibe, the energy, grabbing the opportunity. There was a 10 to 15 year age gap between one of the groups, and the mentor commented that it was nice to see how the younger generation approach new ideas and would just jump at it and give it a go. So rather than thinking where can it go wrong, think I need to have a really good reason to say no to this. So just jumping in and doing new things, I guess. So the motivation to try. Apart from that, they were the main things we came up with. So yeah, all in all, very useful.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll hand over to Paula now, who will take you through the next activity.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks everyone for sharing those aspects of your conversations. We're going to have another discussion now, and this one will shift the focus a little bit. And for this discussion, you'll be in breakout rooms again, but this time just the mentors will be together and the mentees will be together. Gives you maybe a chance to speak a bit more freely about some of your own challenges that you had during the process. We won't necessarily report everything back. I think sometimes this is just a good opportunity to debrief with people that have gone through a similar experience. And then if you have any feedback, I know that quite a few of you have already submitted that feedback survey, which is great. But otherwise, you can also direct any feedback directly to the AMSIG group so that we can consider it for the next program. So for this one, we'll be in mentor group and a mentee group, and these are the kind of things that we'd like you to discuss. So what were the challenges that you experienced in the program? It could be practical challenges like scheduling, for example, or it might be something to do with expectations or how the conversations happened or flowed, or any other challenges that you might have encountered. What growth or how you overcame these challenges? What strategies or skills did you use to overcome these challenges? Is it something that you could provide some advice for in the future, or take on board and use in future situations, like within your own organisation, for example? And have you noticed any changes in your approach to leadership or professional tasks? So think about any skills, confidence, reflection, leadership strategies, etc., or even just the way that you engage with others or confidence. So there's a lot of things that can be brought up in these discussions. We'll give you again about 10 minutes for this discussion, and Rachel will be putting you into groups shortly. I think we've got everyone back now. Yes. Okay, thank you for that. So, like I said, I probably won't do any feedback on that one because that might be just some conversations that you had. If you wanted to pass on any of the feedback that you discussed on to us, please feel free to email us or get in touch in any other way, but email is usually the best one. To end up, what I'd like to share with you is just some of the results from the survey that we sent out from this year's program, and also that's helped us identify some action points or areas that we want to focus on, because we're always wanting to improve the program and see how we can better meet everyone's needs. So in general, in the top corner of that screen, you'll see how many times people met. So the majority of pairs met 4+ times. A couple met 3 times, and I think there was one group that met twice, but it was good to see that the majority met 4+ times, and I think a few were that 5+ as well. So that's great. Some of the feedback that came through in the comments were the positive aspects and the reflection in terms of the key gains, the guidance and practical tools. So there was quite a lot of discussion in the comments about it was great to get guidance from experienced leaders. It gave people some insight into leadership, into management, and also some ideas in terms of career planning and what were some other options or some options to further their career. The second theme that came through from the comments was about connection and networking. So there were a lot of comments about it was great to build relationships and make connections across different roles, across different levels of experience, but also across industry and nationally, so rather than being contained within one's own city or state. So that was reflected in quite a few of the comments. The third point was the reflective practice and shifting perspectives, which I've heard from some of the feedback from our first discussion today as well. There was a real value placed on the reflective practice that's kind of embedded in the mentorship program and in the discussions and conversations that you have. And a lot of comments about the value of seeing situations from different perspectives and having that opportunity to talk through some of those different perspectives, which is great because that really ties in and aligns with one of our main aims of the mentorship program. And the fourth theme that came through really strongly was the value of the meaningful and supportive conversations. So the program provided the opportunity for open and honest conversations, and that came through very strongly. So that's great. It's great to have that feedback. It's great to see how that aligns with the aims and the core principles of the program. So that's very positive. I'd also like to share some of the key challenges and ideas that came through those surveys. The first one is about balancing initiative and structure. So some respondents noted that it was at times challenging to initiate topics or to initiate conversations. So there was sometimes a bit of a struggle to generate questions or topics, which isn't always a bad thing, because sometimes you need to reflect, or you need that time to think about what you actually want to talk about. There was some comments about providing conversation starters or prompts for those times. So that's something that we'll take on board and possibly include in that Padlet of shared resources that we have. There could be some scope to add some conversation starters for those times where it's a little bit difficult to get the momentum going. The second theme that came through in this area was peer community building. So there were some great suggestions about ways to build the mentorship community more, not just between the mentor and the mentee. So, for example, adding some small group sessions or some check-ins with mentors and check-ins with mentees separately throughout the program, which also would provide like the mentors or the mentees to share experiences and maybe discuss some of the challenges or discuss some of the great things that are happening that they can share for others to kind of consider as well. So that's great feedback. Thank you for that. And that was suggested by a few people. So that might be something that we think about implementing next year in the program as well. And the third point in the kind of something that was identified as a bit of a challenge or like just something to think about. A few people mentioned the importance of having private and uninterrupted spaces for conversations, but also being aware that that's not always possible because many people share an office or it's difficult to find that private space. And within this section, there was also, I think, the value of using resources like Padlet, for example, to have some kind of structure or have some kind of resource library. So it might be something that we consider when we set up the program next year. We can talk about the value of that space and the environment and how that can have an impact on the conversations. So really good feedback there as well. And so really appreciate your honesty, really appreciate the extensive comments and those who have provided, the testimonials as well. That's really great because I think that'll go a long way in kind of promoting the program and helping to make it better. Okay, so to end off, where to from here? Paul and I were talking about this last week, and where can you go after the end of the mentorship program? Obviously, there's the continue engaging with any of the AMSIG events. We'll be having webinars, etc. If you have any suggestions for sessions that you think would be useful, please let us know. But opportunities in 2026, if you were a mentor, maybe you will choose to mentor again. There'll be a new batch of mentees next year, hopefully. Or if you're curious and you've been a mentor, perhaps you want to be a mentee and see if we can pair you with either a peer or someone that you'd be interested in learning from or sharing experiences with. So that's an opportunity in 2026 as well. If you were a mentee, maybe you're ready to mentor someone else and pass on what you've learned or share your experience. And I guess you can always, rather than being part of the program officially, you can always take a lot of these ideas and strategies back to your own institution. And I'm sure many of you are actually involved in mentoring, whether formally or informally, people within your own centres. So hopefully it's given you some strategies, skills, and some resources that you can use there as well. Paul, anything else?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like some of those ideas that we shared about about having opportunities for not just one-on-one, but more sort of like group. It could be a possibility to have some kind of an alumni group of people that have contributed either as mentors or mentees, and have an event where we bring back some of the participants from recent years to do one of these sessions as well. Because I know that it can be hard sort of finishing off. The other thing that certainly myself and the person that I was mentoring discussed was, where does it finish? Like, although the program's finished, you still got a relationship there. The relationship itself doesn't end. So, but it's more of a colleague to colleague relationship. So it does change the relationship a little bit, in the sense that you can still certainly reach out to that individual, but it's just not done in the sort of structured approach that we have here. And yeah, and please reach out if you are a mentor or mentee to say thank you. And that doesn't just mean thank you to the mentor, because the mentor is gaining so much from that experience as well. So, I'm sure that you've all benefited greatly from whichever role that you took on. And thank you all for participating. It's been really valuable to hear discussions like, for instance, Philippa, we met at the English Australia conference and just had a quick catch up and discussion about what we gained from that experience of being a mentor. Those kind of little moments in amongst the mix of our work day can make such a big difference. Just sharing that and hearing the positive energy that you've all gained from being part of the program. So that's it from me. Thanks, Paula.
Thank you. And thanks once again, Rachel. Sophie's had to leave English Australia, for continuing to support the AMSIG and the mentorship program. It's
Thank
great.
you, Paula, for all you've done. And thanks, Paul and Maggie, too. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, AMSIGs. You're legends. This is an excellent program, and I hope you keep going.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra.
We wouldn't have it without you guys. So yeah. So once again, thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you, not just at the next mentorship, but in all other places that we might connect.